Now for the Chairman's Award. You know, this award is not presented very often. It's not. I've mentioned this is the 28th tribute to mayors. Tonight, we are going to present only the 5th Chairman's Award in our history. Mayor Eric Garcetti of Los Angeles was honored with the Antonio Virregosa Leadership Award in 2015 at the Tribute to Mayors in San Francisco for his outstanding leadership. And it is my privilege tonight to honor him further with the Chairman's Award. The new Latino Alliance of Mayors, which was announced during the reign of Mayor Rawlings Blake at the U.S. Conference of Mayors, serves as a forum. This is new, and I think important. A forum to address policy concerns, civic engagement, and the changing demographics for the first time within the U.S. Conference of Mayors governance structure, the Latino Alliance of the U.S. Conference of Mayors. The Latino Alliance is chaired by Mayor Eric Garcetti. Using this platform, Mayor Garcetti is engaged with over 30 mayors to discuss issues like sanctuary cities, travel ban, and of course, protections for the Dreamers. Now, just last August, the Latino Alliance planned and participated in a Mayor's DACA Day call to action, where mayors from nearly 60 cities convened events with Dreamers to ask Congress to do the right thing and provide legislation to solve the Dreamer question immediately. For his leadership of the Latino Alliance of the U.S. Conference of Mayors, I am proud to present the 2018 Latino Leaders Network Chairman's Award to Mayor Eric Garcetti of Los Angeles. Here's the award, Mayor. Let's take a picture right here.
Sit. Thank you. Siéntate. Thank you all. Please.
Garcetti for president.
Thanks. Too smart for that right now. We'll see. Let me start with Mickey. We often say in Los Angeles you're an angel in the city of angels, but you're really an angel in this nation. Somebody who we take for granted the glue that you are and the connector that you embody, because you do it with such grace, you do it with such beauty, and you do it with such strength. But for the Latino community, for those who are Latino, those of you who might be Latino curious, and everybody else, these convenings have fulfilled a role in our lives. I dare say there's people who've probably met and gotten married at your luncheons from the romance that has blossomed. There's definitely business deals that have gotten done, legislative work that has been accomplished, and most of all, you just remind us that we are not living isolated lives, but we are powerful and strong together as the fabric represented here. So please give Mickey Ibarra another round of applause. Thank you for this award, Mr. Chairman. To Mayor Melendez and to todos los alcaldes y las alcaldes in Puerto Rico, I'm so honored to be on the stage with you, because I think for mayors, we know our time in office is not defined by the things we set out to do, but how we react to the things we don't expect to experience. And by that measure, you and your fellow mayors are the greatest American heroes of this past year. And yes, we know our geography, so we say American heroes. And Puerto Rico has been an integral part of this nation's history, that has been loyal to America even when she has not been loyal to Puerto Rico. And we understand and know that as Latinos, as progressive people, as people who care. And we will not leave you behind. And for the mayors who are not from Puerto Rico here, I say we should all figure out who our sister city is going to be in Puerto Rico and rebuild alongside with you. And if that means Los Angeles and Ponce together as a start, I am happy to do that. So thank you. Look, these are tough times. These are moments in which we are tested. But I want to rewind the clock and tell you just a tiny bit of my story. I want to take you back to a typical Sunday when I was at my Grandma Nita and my grandfather Salvador's house. Grandma Nita would usually be working all Saturday making menudo. We'd wake us up. I got some menudo fans, yeah. Just for the others, the food, not the music. Though there's nothing wrong with menudo, the music, too. It's also produced some really good stuff. We'd sit there, and my sister and I, with warm tortillas, my grandfather putting endless chile in his menudo, would sit and listen to their stories. I'd listen to my grandmother, who was one of 18 children, to the same two parents who were immigrants from Guaymas, Sonora, who came to a small mining town in Arizona, where they opened up a grocery store and I think kept having kids so they could have free labor. And as a teenager, how she picked up and left with a few of her sisters and her mother and came to Los Angeles to settle there and to begin a life. How she met my grandfather, who this week I dedicate this award to, because he was a dreamer before we used that term. And as a one-year-old, he came across the border in the midst of the Mexican Revolution when my bisabuelo was killed in that war. And in my bisabuela's arms, Mama Lupe, she had the courage that mothers today who come from Central America and who come from other nations, who pick up not thinking about immigration laws, not thinking about anything but the survival of their young ones, come to our borders today. And I was, you know, the great Mexican director Iñárritu, he has a piece of art right now that's part of our Pacific Standard Time LALA, which I hope some of you saw, Latino art and Latin America. And at the Los Angeles County Museum of Art, the piece of art he made is virtual reality, and you go into a cold room, and you hear weird recordings, and around you in this prison-like setting, you see artifacts of people who have crossed the border that's been collected for years. Backpacks, children's shoes, flip-flops. They tell you to take your shoes off and to sit there with your bare feet. And then when the light goes off and the alarm goes off, you're allowed to go into this dark room and they give you goggles, and on the floor, which is full of dirt, you're suddenly there on the Mexican-American border. And the beauty of that land that for us in the Southwest has always been ours. The blend of native blood and then European blood and African blood and Asian blood that mingled there. And all of a sudden a group of folks who are crossing the border comes up with you. And I imagine what it was like for my great-grandmother, because there was a woman in this virtual reality piece of art who was there carrying her baby. And it was just like my grandfather when he came over the border. And how then they made it to Los Angeles, and he never even finished junior high school, but he scrapped and he helped out at home. And he met my grandmother and they started a family. He lost his house once to a freeway. They moved another place. A second freeway was built, and he lost that house. And in the midst of World War II, still not a citizen, so he wasn't drafted, he volunteered to fight for this country and left his two young babies behind, never knowing whether he'd come back. He made it back and he earned his citizenship. And just like in that video, I recently, through Ancestry.com, only $39.95 a month, I saw that citizenship card and those papers for the first time. And I realized that we repeat history and that we are called on to lead, not to think about legislation sometimes, but to think of our common humanity. When we see children at the border, to ask, do we have hearts as parents and as people first? To think about holding people to their words in these tough winds that are in front of us. When they say they care about dreamers, to push them hard to prove it. Not just to say it, but to prove it. There's a dicho that says, no te quejes porque el viento va en contra tuya. Mejor aprende a volar. Don't complain about the headwinds that are before you. It is better to learn how to fly. And I want to close with this, because every single day that I join with my fellow mayors, and thank you to the U.S. Conference of Mayors for allowing me to start the first Latino Alliance in the U.S. Conference of Mayors. I just had Mickey Ibarra envy, so I wanted to be founding chairman of something. But in all seriousness, we have this moment in time when all of us are called, when mayors are threatened with arrest, like petulant children who are leading this country, who are weak, who are cruel. We are all called to stand together, Latinos and non-Latinos, immigrants and non-immigrants. And let me thank everybody who's serving us food tonight and making us food, because I bet most of them are immigrants. To let them see the light. Because I don't spend my day worrying about the headwinds. I spend my day learning and teaching others how to fly. In the Bible, in the olden days, one of the greatest sins when the first temple was built in Jerusalem was to pray in a windowless room. And I asked one day my rabbi why that was, and she said, there is a belief that in each one of us there is something divine. And to pray in a room with no windows is to keep that divinity to yourself and not let the world see it. So next time you're stuck in a Facebook feed, or you're yelling at your television, and in your room by yourself, don't close off the windows of your beauty. Open those windows. Join a women's march. Sit down with a dreamer in front of a senator's office. Join the campaign and let your light shine, and we will fly together, and this victory will be all of ours. Muchísimas gracias. Adelante, juntos.